Alright, this happened this most recent August. Second weirdest thing I've ever seen in the state. Easily the most unsettling. Get 3 days free after doing 24/7 grandpa care for 2 months. Get 2 friends to go in the mountains with me. Leave Friday night in a truck, pulling a trailer with 2 4-wheelers. Light finally fades about 10 p.m. Mid-August in Alaska. Take it easy on speed because big old diesel. Get to the target highway at about midnight. Pavement ends at mile 21-ish. Everything to now has been pretty normal. Couple miles in, road turns left with a small pull-off on the right-hand side. Little Subaru parked there, facing into the road. LED light bar at face level. There's someone leaning on the hood, watching us as we drive by. Tired by this point, not really concerned. Figure it's someone waiting for their hunting buddy. It's caribou season. Keep going. The highway is real rough in the fall. It's gravel, and the heavy fall rains combined with all the full-time hunting and camping traffic tears it up. Going 30 miles per hour if I'm lucky. Truck, trailer, and teeth, all going daka 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 from washboards. Nice bright full moon. Can miss the worst spots. Hit real long straight stretch before trailhead pull off. Get half mile down straight stretch, about halfway. Lights in rearview mirror. Fucking bright as fuck light bar again. This dude hauling ass, 50 to 60 miles per hour or more. One friend is zonked in the back, the other one is spaced out. Point the light bar car out to him. He watches them in the side mirror, doesn't seem too unsettled. Car is maybe 200 feet back when I finally pull into the trailhead. Car catches up 10 seconds later. Slows down to 5 miles per hour going by, obviously checking us out. Hackles raised. Park the truck. Watch them drive down the highway for a bit. Let out a deep breath. Look to the left at the other corner of this parking area. There is an SUV parked there. No big deal. This is where it gets way out of whack. Wake up the other friend. Kill the engine. Hop out. Instant gut assessment. Shit is fucked. We are being hunted. Time to go. My response to this novel sensation. Hey, there's something written on the SUV. Shine my flashlight on it. Moloch, written in the dust on back window since it was parked. Oh fuck, what? Friends are stretching legs. One has his assault rifle out. They're both too quiet. Check out SUV. Engine still warm. Parked within a few hours. Only front door passenger is locked. Shoes and sandals and shorts. Comfy driving wear on front seats. Full packs and compound boat and back. Full cooler. Tent. Everything is untouched. 6-month expired youth group sticker on hood. Empty coffee hut coffees. Looks like a young couple going out to camp. Friends are checking out this SUV. We're all at independently reached 10 out of 10 maximum alert. Look around the whole area. Nobody is there. No fresh tracks except in parking area itself. Another pair of cars with LED light bars go by, hauling maximum ass. We keep rifles on them from cover as they go by. Give in to gut feeling. Leave. Camp 30 miles away on a different highway. Come back in the morning. SUV is still there, untouched. Still no sign of anybody around. Terrible gut feeling gone. Take the 4-wheelers and go 8 miles back in the mountains. Have a good time camping. Get bullied by a caribou. Come back in the next day. Nobody was out there. Great lines of sight and nowhere to hide. SUV untouched. Food in the back is starting to go off. Get back to town. Call SUV in to troopers. Dispatcher goes, yeah, that is sketchy as fuck. I'll send someone out. Call back 2 weeks later to see what came of it. No record of having ever called in, but they have every other call I've made. Sorry, Kay. Some stories don't have a good ending. I'm convinced we were getting checked out, and the only reason they let us be was because we had our weapons propped up on the seats and very visible. I never have found any explanation for what I saw out there. All I know is that gut feeling I got when I got out of the truck was the spookiest thing I've ever felt, and all 3 of us felt it independently. There is some fucked up shit going on out there. I am convinced. I like to believe creepy Greentext are elaborate works of fiction. It's more comforting than accepting them all as true. But I see my own account, something I know happened and that now exists as a Greentext, and it makes me wonder how many of the rest are also true. I agree. People should be aware and armed. The total obliviousness people seem to have is astounding. Here is fresh Greentext, I guess. Go for a hike up a mountain with some girls. Literally, you park, cross the highway, and go up the mountain 3,000 feet. No trees, so you can see your car all the way up and down. Bully the girls into going to the top. Coming down the mountainside, see a van has parked down there. Closer to the bottom now. Van's still there. Nobody is coming up the trail. 5 minutes from getting back to the car. 2 men are now leaning against the van, watching us. I stay at the back of the pack as the girls cross the highway, jacket back, and hand on pistol. Full eye contact with the rough-looking Russian and his Chinese buddy as they smoke. Girls say hi to the guys and chit-chat about whatever as they take their stuff and get in the car. Get in once the girls are in, and we go. Comment on how sketchy the guys are. Girls all go, what do you mean? Dude sat in an idling, windowless van, parked by the car they had to return to in the middle of the Alaskan wilderness, and waited 2 hours for the girls and I to come down the mountain. This set off 0 alarm bells for them. I did not pursue any of those girls. Paranoia is a mandatory trait for me, it turns out. That way I don't have to worry so much. One of them walked into a moose on another hike, for fuck's sake. If people can't clue in to stupid, obvious predatory behavior, how are they going to avoid Molochites and kitted out foresters? It is all fucked. And on. I learned long before I discovered fortunes that this world is not what we were taught while we were growing up. I'm actually really glad to be talking to you, as I've had a question about your original account. Do you think these guys were using the lighting rigs on their cars to emulate cop cars to trick people into pulling over? And thanks for the new stuff. Are you still in Alaska? I'm still in Alaska, yes. I don't think the lighting was to emulate police. The troopers run regular headlights and are far and few. There is generally one trooper covering the Denali Highway at any given time, and he lives in Delta Junction. Take a look at a highway map to get an idea of how little LE coverage there is. My guess is the lights serve 3 purposes: seeing into vehicle cabs to case the occupants, blinding victims to make them easier to capture, reduced peripheral awareness, make it easier to run the highway at 50 to 60 miles per hour at night. The Denali is not a travel highway. You are there because your destination is on it. All they have to do is follow and wait. I have since come to learn there is a witch's coven centered around some sort of energy nexus or portal near Fox, Alaska. There is also something living in the woods near Haystack, north of Fairbanks. It is a big state. Easy to stay lost. I have one, never shared before. B14, huge loner. Not beta, just introverted and apathetic about idiots. One day meet this girl Greta, so beautiful, mind and body. We start hanging out, and I am head over heels. She hangs out around my place all the time, but I've never seen hers. Ask her about it one day. She says it's because my house is on the way home that we walk. Think nothing of it. We hang out for years. B16. Greta is my best friend, and we hang out almost every day. One day while walking home, Greta realizes something out of the blue and seems to get nervous. I gotta run home, Anon. I forgot something. Thought it was weird, but offered to accompany her. Not a good idea, Anon. I'll see you tomorrow at school. Next day at school, she seems really peculiar, acting distant. Tried talking to her a few times, but she just responds with basic one-liners. Not dumb enough to be unable to read body language. Leave her alone rest of the day. Walking home together, decide to talk about the new Call of Duty campaign. She loves videos, plays the campaigns to sum up my house. Was rattling off some lines from the story. Said a code I heard a Russian say in the prison, Alpha 09. She stops walking immediately, stares off into the ground in front of her. I stop talking. Face melts into curious stare. Statue.jpg. She looks up at me with these blank eyes. She cocks back and square punches me in the face. Fly backwards, taste blood from my nose, fall onto grass, scream out as I clutch my face, only to see her cold gaze. Takes a few steps towards me. Nope. Hightail it home. She is chasing me. Run down back alley past my house. She's chasing me. I yell out this isn't funny, I'm hurt, etc. Beg for her to stop. She's making these grunting noises and still chasing. I rounded the corner into the street and ran 3 blocks down to where there are some hills off the roads. Run uphill, down every side, and duck into drain area that is hidden. She runs past on the trails into the woods. Crawl out, run home, bewildered. Nearing house, see her backpack on the ground. Grab it as I continue walking home. Get inside, open up bag. Notice for the first time, it has a very peculiar odor, like burnt plastic. Find normal stuff for homework, classes, drawing, etc. At the bottom is a small gold, rounded metallic disc. Disc has a weird glyph on the top, and other than that is bare. Toss it up and down a few times, thinking about the situation that happened. Try looking up the glyph online to no avail. Pack her stuff back up, but forget about the golden disc on my desk. Next day, get to school. Greta is not there. Dodgy. Walk home, expecting some sort of kamikaze attack from every bush. Nope. Go to sleep. School again. Get to school a little early. Notice Greta's father dropping her off at front door. Old shitty car. Rust everywhere. Looked like it was just a shit kicker car. He's talking very sternly to her while she stares at the floorboards. He holds up a hand, and like in response, she raises her head like a hypnotist that has removed his trance. Greta gets out of the car. I walk around the corner because I am afraid of the confrontation. Meet Greta by her locker. She looks at me like nothing happened. I stare at her, standing not 2 feet away, and she sees nothing and just stares back. So, want to explain why you kicked my ass the other day after school? I exclaim. She stares sheepishly and says, sorry about that. Was having a rough day. Flip switch. She gets all giggly and puts her arm around my shoulders. So, let me make it up to you. We walk to class. Her making it up to me was an extra cupcake at lunch. Forget about this fiasco for a while. Towards end of the year, walking home again with Greta. Season is changing, finally getting hot out. Greta is wearing shorts, and I can't stop staring at her. Ask her if she wants to play some vidya. She agrees, if not just for the AC. Go inside. She flops down on my bed while I sit on the side. She grabs the controller and turns the Xbox on. Notice a really deep scratch on the inside of her thigh, but don't think much of it, besides wondering how she got it. Some time passes. I'm playing on my phone, and notice she has not moved in a while and fell asleep. Try to wake her up by pushing on the side of her leg, not the one that's cut. Wakey wakey eggs and bakey, I coo. She immediately sits upright, and in one fluid motion, turns, grabs my hand, grabs my wrist, and pulls it away from her. Then uses her other hand to grab the front of my shirt, like she was trying to hold me in place. Enter authorization code now. Stare in bewilderment as a creepy feeling starts to begin as soon as the silence falls after her statement. What? Enter beta authorization code now, or initiate gamma programming. Brixbyshat.wav. Starting to move off bed, starting to freak out. Greta, what are you? I say, before she stands up and walks out of my door, grabbing her backpack and a piece of food that was sitting on the kitchen counter. Walks outdoor and all the way to her house. Follow. Million thoughts. Resolve to think she's had some kind of psychotic break. Maybe abusive parents or home life. Start realizing I know little to nothing about her home, life, parents, siblings, or family. Keep her in sight as she gets to her house. Walk across the block as she walks up to her door and go down back alley by their backyard. Large painted dark fence, about 7 feet at least. No Harriet the Spy here, not a single hole or break to be able to see in. Go to neighbor's yard with small chain fence. Hop it. Walk up to the side of their house. Hear movement and voices. Approach window. My heart is pounding. My legs feel like lead, and I feel the wind being pulled out of me. I want to pass out. I breathe. Try to listen to voices. Hear something about de-escalation. Hear some numbers and words, specifically Alpha 01. Hear a loud thump, then silence. Think this is done. Then hear voices very close to the window. It's a shame this had to happen again. Follow up with her later tonight and report to father, a man says, monotone. Remember vividly how dull and straightforward his voice was. Right away. What do you suggest we do in the meantime? A female response. Same monotone voice, but high-pitched and feminine. I'm going to replay footage and add a layer, and then I can't hear the words. It sounded like he said, Docs Fnon. Voices go silent. Hear creaks, and it is done. My mind is on fire. I crawl back from between the houses, through the backyard, and make my way home. Try to sleep, but see the golden object sitting on desk. Get up, examine it, decide I'm going to ask Greta about all of this, and depending on what she says, we'll decide our friendship, because this is nuttier than a nutter butter. Next day, see Greta, dropped off by her father again. Same thing. He is talking to her sternly, makes a hand gesture. She gets up like a perfect little doll and exits. This part gets a little hazy because so much should happen so quickly. Pull gold disc out of pocket, open hand in front of Greta. She stares at the object, motionless, almost in fear. Slaps my hand. Object goes flying. I pull away and twitch backwards. Move to grab the object. Greta moves towards me, punches me in the head. Body checks me against the lockers. People form a circle. Fall on top of object. She is on top of me, pummeling me. Teachers break it up. Greta's parents called to pick her up. Suspended. Greta's dad asks what it is about. They bring me in. Explain how she attacked me. He asks why. I show him the golden object. Holy fuck. His face contorts into a wrinkled rage. Stares first at the object, then at me. Feel color draining from my face. Where did you get that, Hanan? Greta gave it to me. No, she didn't. Return that. Principal gets perturbed. Tells Dad he needs to calm down. Dad engages rage mode. Starts moving around aggressively. Principal pages in security. Dad and Greta are escorted out. Principal forgets about the object in a scuffle. Tells me to go back to class. Go to class. Cannot concentrate. Whole life seems to not make sense. Go home. Late at night. Hear a tapping on my window. Nope. Eventually fall asleep. Next day. No Greta. Next day. Hear announcement over the PA system. Greta is dead. Died in a car accident on the way home. The day she was suspended. Dad and mother died too. Burned alive. No other friends or family. No burial. Newspaper reports the death. Lots of unanswered questions. House sells within a month. It's like she never existed. Keep gold disc as a reminder. Within 6 months, the disc is gone. Mystery never solved. I thought she was maybe involved in some sort of cult, like Scientology or some shit, but I don't know. The whole thing seemed like one big hallucination, looking back on it. I just wrote a long version of what happened, but I'll just do a TLDR version, and then if anybody wants to read more details, I'll copy and paste the full thing. Be kid with local kid friends. They are generally alright, but have older brothers friends, etc., who were bad influences. They used to go off with these older kids, / possibly adults, to these fields, on the other side of an old World War II airfield. I never followed, because I wasn't allowed that far from home. Their behavior changed, started being cruel to animals, cut a newt's head off, stapled ducklings to trees. Stopped being friends with them. Fast forward, age 16. Exploring abandoned buildings around airfield. Find dead body / sack of meat outside abandoned hotel. Get threatened for being there. Find other weird stuff in the area, including panties hanging in trees. One time see men snapping branches off trees for a bonfire. Later see 2 different men with 2 boys cycling in direction of bonfire. Seems suspicious, and just like what happened to my friends when young, suspect some weird activities going on. B 7 years ago, 14-year-old, testosterone-filled teenager boy. Lived in the backwoods of Kansas. Always go camping out there with one of my good friends. Never had any problems besides goods from a nearby farm coming and wrecking the site. We didn't know who exactly owned the land, but we figured no one would come trekking down there just to stop some teenagers from enjoying the outdoors. One day we got sick of the guts messing up our shit, so we trekked further inland across a brook and into a clearing. Someone had obviously been there before, and recently, as there was a fire pit that wasn't soggy or old. The creepiest part we noticed was that it smelled like blood. Very irony. We set up our tent, made a fire in the pit, and started playing on our Game Boys. Daytime passed to twilight, so we cooked up some hot dogs and decided to chill in the tent and talk about random things. The first thing we said was that we had a very strange feeling about the clearing we were in. You could hear what sounded like faint singing in the distance, but no words, just constant moans. We get freaked out badly and start making crosses out of sticks and twine from nearby vines. We plunge them into the ground around our tent, just in case. We had never been that scared before. We both fall asleep, scared shitless. I wake up at about 3:30 a.m. and have to piss bad. Don't want to go outside. Still hearing the strange moaning and singing. Figure I would piss myself sleeping if I didn't. Walk outside the tent. I see a faint light in the distance. A candle. Our fire is embers at this point. I piss fast and get back into the tent and sit straight up and wait until morning. 3 fucking hours of sitting straight up watching. Sun comes up. Friend wakes up from a dream. I tell him about the light I saw. He says someone probably lives nearby. We both get out. We are fucking shocked to see our tent in the middle of a pentagram. Someone turned the crosses we made upside down. We pack our shit and hightail it the fuck back home. We tell my dad what happened. He gets a very worried look in his eye. Turned out a close friend of his owned the land across the brook. He and the landowner go down there with rifles later in the evening. I fall asleep. Wake up to my dad entering the house again. He has a fucking bite mark on his arm. Blood everywhere. He takes a shower, bandages up, and then gives me the complete story. There has been a cult using that land as their ritual base ever since the 1950s that practice human sacrifices, animal sacrifices, and cannibalism. He and the landowner thought they cleared the land of the cult and scared them off for good about 7 years ago. The police are investigating the site the next day. They found about 6 infant skeletons. Me and my friend could have been eaten alive or sacrificed to some backyard deity, or even worse, set ablaze in the middle of a pentagram in our tent. That fact has given me a ton of mental problems in my life. Experience. I thought I would enlighten you guys about the odd stuff happening in my family right now. My grandmother was part of a small Nordic cult when she was younger. It's called Smith's Friends, and it involves some creepy stuff about girls wearing pigtails and short skirts, then saying yes and accept whatever they have been offered. This was when my grandmother was 9. Speed up until I turn 16, and there is a ring on the doorbell. My mother opens the door, and there is an old, pale man, and he asks for me. My mom talks to this man, and he seems okay, and he says it is important. I come up to the door, and the man seemed nice. Asked me some simple questions like age, name, etc. I thought maybe he was from the local church, as they are looking for youth to become more involved. I finally ask him who he is, as I still have no recognition of him. and he has not represented himself yet. I remember this very clearly, as he started flipping shit when I asked questions back, and I called out for my mom. The man suddenly asks if he can talk to my mother alone, and I leave. Later that night, my mother calls my grandmother, grandfather, and everyone like crazy. My grandmother arrives the next day and explains this event where she was stalked by a man a little older than her, and he fit the description apparently. Fast forward until summer vacation is over and I attend school. Around the first or second week, this guy shows up in front of my school. I tell my mother, and she calls the police, and they cannot do anything. She then explains the cult to me and everything that went down. I then didn't see him until last week as I was walking home from college, and I am freaking the fuck out. As alright, Anon, so you live in Norway. I talked to my grandmother, and apparently, she still has friends in this cult. They traded leaders or something, and therefore, the cult has a more enlightened view on religion than they did back in the day. From what my grandmother told me, it was more about all the filthy things that were happening on the down low. Yeah, I live in Norway too, but I had never encountered anything negative towards that cult, as me and my mother was at this campish thing they own. The cult research I've done on this cult, I cannot seem to find anything alike to what my grandmother has told me, and I also told her about this. Why do you persist on calling it a cult? It's a small independent church. It's not like they're meeting in all secrecy in the mountains and sacrificing cute little girls. I feel like you're trying to make something paranormal out of an old guy watching you. Don't get me wrong, it's creepy, and I understand it is freaking you out. But get real, you're not being hunted by Smith's Veneer. I call it a cult as that is what it is known as. It's also what my family refers it to. That religious independent group is also locally known for being into some freaky stuff. Yeah, making something paranormal out of it might be too much, but I have a very bad feeling. The worst thing I've ever heard about them is that they are a weird bunch. I'm curious now though. Elaborate on the freaky stuff. From what my grandmother told me, it was for as long as she can remember. She had to wear skirts and always say yes thank you when the opposite gender offered something. My grandfather was not in this cult, and when she met him around 19, they turned crazy, locked her inside mirrored rooms or something while they told her to look at herself and how disgusting she was. What I think this could be is the fact that okay, this religious group is weird, but then my grandmother just got born into the more negative branch of the group. I went out with a guy in my goth phase who drove a hearse. The kid was fucked up, but the hearse gave me spook cred, so I let a lot slide. Anyway, he got ordained online. Cool, no biggie. Well, after that, he started his own religion, Church of the Vindershindes or something similar. He kept trying to convert kids around town to come to his house. He lived with his parents in their garage, which he turned into the church and worship. He told me he wanted tax-exempt status and to bring about a string of conversations so the norms would see that alt folks should not be messed with since alt folks are superior. That pretty solidly ended the relationship in my goth phase. I think he still has the hearse, but baby Hitler didn't get more than 3 or 4 followers before the cops started to get curious about why a 24-year-old man kept bringing kids into his garage in the middle of the night. I haven't had an encounter with a cult as in some type of organized group, but I've seen brainwashing and cult-like mentality develop. It's really sad and unnerving in its own way. The person had been lying about who they were for essentially the last 8 years. Not a completely different identity per se, about a fictionalized personal history. The person convinced others they had supernatural powers and otherworldly wisdom. Lots of disenfranchised youth and other broken people surrounding them. Thankfully, over financial arguments, this illusion started to fall apart, and this person took off. Not without taking one of my friends' brainwashed fiancé with them. Feel pretty bad for him, but he should have stopped it before it got that far. I imagine it was not unlike watching the Manson family form though. Still makes me feel weird to think about it. Not much spoopy, but I will tell you anyways. Be me. 15 to 16 years old, living in a small rural town in Spain. Old people and middle-aged people, and even some young people, still believes in some magic stuff, like curses and stuff. With some mates, around 15 people. We are in the woods, cutting trees for a huge bonfire, Spain tradition. Walking around, looking for a good tree. Some girl of our crew starts to scream. We go there, and we see some ceramic dolls on the floor. Seems like some witchcraft thing, but too weird to be for self-healing, like it used to be when it's done in our town. People start to get uncomfortable. I grab one doll. People start to freak out and tell me to stop, to put it back. I put it back. Nothing happened, of course. Those people won't go near me after that until they forgot some hours later. I still wonder who did that and why, but I assume that was some bullshit from old people of my town.